Welcome to Title Talk, a podcast for real estate investors where we cover tips, tricks, and trends in the industry.
This podcast is all about providing valuable insights to help you maximize your investment opportunities.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, Title Talk is the place to stay in the know and get inspired.
So grab your headphones, tune in, and let's talk title.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Title Talk. I'm one of your hosts, Jamil Damji, and coming from Miami, Florida, and Dina Jones. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Well, you know, I've been on a coast-to-coast book tour for anyone who has not been paying attention to my social media. Pace Morby released his book, Wealth Without Cash, on Bigger Pockets platform. And we've been traveling the country, coast to coast, signing books, shaking hands, shaking babies, actually, well, kissing babies, shaking hands. Not
Did
shaking.
his babies come?
Oh, lots of babies. I've seen so many babies. I've seen a lot of babies. I've seen families. It's been an incredible time. Honestly, I'm so happy that I'm here, but I can tell you that it is an exhausting experience. We have been coast to coast in 10 days.
Wow.
From LA to Miami.
I got to see you at the Arizona one, and we were talking
Yes.
about your book that hasn't been named yet, but it might be Wealth with Cash, right?
It is the wholesale book from Bigger Pockets, and I'll actually tell you what it's called. There is a title to it. In fact, if you're interested in pre-ordering it, you can go to biggerpockets.com/wholesale book, and you can pre-order it. And if you do order it or pre-order it, you're going to be entitled to win some incredible prizes from myself. One of those prizes is going to be a 3-hour-long comping session with me personally. Nobody else on the line. If you have ever had trouble comping and you're like, man, I just wish I could get Jamil's brain and my brain, that's how we're going to do it. 3 hours, me and you, one-on-one, teaching you exactly how I comp properties. I'm going to install my comping brain in your brain. The book is called How to Wholesale Real Estate, the No Cash Strategy to Build a Scalable Business.
Wow.
Yes.
And when does it come out officially?
biggerpockets.com/wholesale book.
When does it come out?
It'll be coming out July 1st. July 1st.
I like it.
So,
I like it.
Yes. And we may go on a book tour, may not. I have a family vacation scheduled for July, so we'll see how August looks, but we'll pass that bridge as we get there. But how you been? It's been a little bit since we've seen our friends, and I get so many messages from people saying, I love Title Talk. It's like a topic that people don't really discuss in the industry, and Dina is so fun, and Fidelity Title is such a great partner for our community because really you guys are doing deals nationwide and you do it the right way, right? And there's been some interesting developments recently in the world of title that I'd like to get into with you because you and I were talking a little offline. And let's first talk about some of the ghost stories that have been going on in the world of title, because I understand that there have been some, and since I'm in Miami right now, it is the capital of fraud in the country. So why don't we dive into that? Do you know what's going on in the world of fraud in title?
Title fraud. There's fraud everywhere. Actually, right before this, I got a weird phone call myself from somebody that was asking me if I left something in an airport. And I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, how did you get my cell phone number? So we hear about fraud all the time. We hear about cyber fraud. We hear about, people. It's very common to have somebody duplicate an escrow officer's signature and create a different email address that looks similar, but like different by a character. So that's a super, super common one. I actually got a story about this from our fraud insights team talking about absentee owner fraud, and this being a nationwide occurrence. Have you ever come across that?
Not absentee. Actually, that's not true. Yes, here in Miami, we had a situation where we were in escrow on a house. Somebody who was pretending to be a seller had contracted the house to a wholesaler. That wholesaler sold me the property. I then resold that deal to another investor. And interestingly enough, the deal blew up the day before closing when they found out that the seller wasn't really who they said they were, that it was all fictitious. And yes, lo and behold, it was a fake seller. So it was an absentee owner who was actually not even the absentee owner. It was just a fake person.
Well, and that's totally happening, right? So we're coming across operations where they're opening sales with total imposters on a very regular basis. And, they have to look at the tax billing address instead. They're spending tons and tons of time working on the files, only to later figure out that the seller is not a true owner of the property being sold, So we're catching it. The Fraud Insights team actually sent us a story about an escrow officer and a manager in California who caught it recently over in the Napa area. And,
wow.
and it was for a FSBO deal. So definitely a scary situation out there.
So what can people do to make sure that who they're dealing with is the actual seller? Because imagine this, right? Say you're a wholesaler and say you're a buyer and you get in touch with somebody who pretends to be the owner, or say somebody calls you on a bandit sign, right? I think it would probably most likely work off like somebody reaching out to you from a bandit sign saying, hey, I want to sell this house. And then you get the address and they give you a really low price, a price that maybe feels a little bit like you want to just get this deal done. So you're like pushing to make the deal happen because it's such a good deal. And then how do you guys find out? Like, how do you guys bust the fraud?
Fraud busters. That should be a good topic, actually. Fraud busters, right? Well, first of all, it starts with having a gut feeling like something's off. Right. Okay. You don't have proof of anything yet, but you got to trust your gut. Right. So they ask a series of questions. And we actually have a department that comes up with all of those questions that they ask to really identify who the person is on the phone that they're communicating with. And then another thing that we do towards the end, especially, which we get, they give our escrow officers the advice to do, is to have the actual seller come to the physical office for their signing, and also let the notary know, like, hey, this is not feeling good at all, and continue to ask a series of questions to dig deeper to verify.
Is there something that a potential buyer, like let's just say I get called off a bandit sign and somebody tells me they want to sell me their house, is there questions that you can tell us that we can ask people to help mitigate this before it gets to the title office?
I'm like, it's so funny you bring up bandit signs. I haven't seen those in Arizona in a little bit. Which is...
they still have them in the West Side. I see them out there, but they pick them up so fast that they literally come out on a Friday and they get picked up by Monday morning.
So people are still using that as a marketing strategy, but it's just expensive because they get picked up.
Yeah, you lose them so fast. And a bandit sign costs $4 landed.
Did you guys hear that?
$4 landed. Yep. I just did a big study on it for the Bigger Pockets book that I wrote. And
you did.
$4 landed. And honestly, they don't work in major cities. Like in reality, bandit signs don't really work in major cities. They work in rural markets very well. Small rural markets, a bandit sign the ROI on a bandit sign is phenomenal. But if you're in a competitive market, a bandit sign is just not going to cut it.
They have worked here in the past, but in this market, I think it definitely would be a little bit more challenging.
Yes. So do you have any questions that a potential buyer could ask a seller to kind of preemptively fish out a fraud?
I mean, you can start with some basics, like, what do you love about the neighborhood? How long have you lived there? Did you raise your family there? Because those are all things they can actually verify by the tax records, right? They could see that right out of the gate. You can pull tax records on a property and you can clearly see how long they lived there, who purchased it, all of that kind of stuff. And so figuring out if they can even get the basics right, I think is a really good idea. If they also give you like oh, I want to do title in an LLC. You know, here in Arizona, you can go and verify, you know, that their LLC is listed and things like that. And I think that would also be a good route to go down.
Is it a buyer's responsibility to make sure that they're buying a home from the real seller, or is it title company's responsibility?
I think it's everybody's responsibility in the transaction, right? I think that everybody plays a part. If
But
a buyer
ultimately,
is
like,
nervous about it, they should totally tell title, right?
yeah, I got it. So let's just say, for instance, the buyer doesn't say anything, or they don't catch it, they don't feel like anything's fishy. You got a good actor on the other line, and let's just say the title doesn't catch it. Is that where title insurance comes in?
100%.
Got it. So guys, this is where your title policy will come and save your butt, because you go and wire $200,000 to buy a house, and all of a sudden it's not the seller that you wired, that, you know, who's got that money. It's some other. Can when that happens, can that money be like refunded? Can it be recaptured, or is it gone forever? Has it disappeared into the world of fraud?
It depends. Like every situation on that front is different, right? If it's wire fraud versus human fraud, and they look at every single one of those scenarios very uniquely.
Got it.
Yeah, there's no two apples that are ever the same. It's kind of the same.
No, that
that front.
Sense. That makes a lot of sense. And, you know, again, guys, make sure that you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and really verifying, asking the pertinent questions that Dina just said. And I love those questions, right? Like, how long have you lived in the house? What do you loved about what did you like about the neighborhood? Is there anything specific about, you know, do you remember any of the names of the schools that your kids went to, or do you have children? You know, just get into some specifics and see if they answer questions. And if they don't answer questions, or if they get really, you know, that's the other piece though, right? What if you're a buyer and that messes up your sales cycle, right? Like, you're like, man, like these are questions that are agitating the seller. And what if they're a real seller, but they don't like your prying? You know, what happens then? Like, is there, you know, I can see that kind of derailing a situation if you've got a grouchy person on the other line.
Yeah, and I mean that's where your sales skills have to kind of come in, and you kind of have to go back to the basics, right? Of like talking about how you can build common ground in order to build that trust and rapport, so that they're less aggressive or evasive. But if they're just grouchy, like on answering basic questions, and you're a legitimate buyer, then that doesn't seem right to me at all, because you're trying to help each other in that particular situation, you know?
Agreed, yeah.
So
awesome.
thank you guys all for being here too, by the way. We have been
Yes.
loving the comments on YouTube and on Facebook, and the questions that you guys are prompting. I know some of us, we're getting emails instead of having you post them, because you're not sure if other people have those questions. I would highly encourage you to drop your questions, drop them in the comments on YouTube or Facebook so we can see them live, because other people probably have the same ones.
Yes. And if anyone on my team is in the chat, I will actually put it in here myself, because I'm running a little bit of a skeleton crew at the moment, being away. Wholesale book. Somebody asked for the link to Bigger Pockets website for the pre-order. Guys, that is where you go for the pre-order of my wholesale book. I'd appreciate if you did. And hey, you get a chance to win 3-hour one-on-one. I mean, just saying, if I was gonna bill out consulting wise 3 hours of my day, that's 10 grand. One-on-one, that's exactly what that would cost. 10,000.
Wow.
That's what I cost. I'm not cheap. I'm not a cheap date.
I was just gonna say, you're not a cheap date.
Not a cheap date. So I mean, there's a good opportunity there for somebody who is particularly interested in understanding how I approach comping and really wanting to get into my brain. I think this would be a great opportunity for you to win that pre-order bonus. So guys, go to biggerpockets.com/wholesale-book. And also, there's only a couple of you that have liked this stream so far, and we've got near 100 people watching live. Stop being stingy with the thumbs, guys. Give us your thumbs.
We need your thumbs. And you know what? It might be because we changed the time on everybody, because we're usually 5 o'clock on the dot, but we're 3 o'clock today, but it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Where is it?
It is Florida? 5 o'clock somewhere. And thank you guys for still joining us. And I know that a lot of you who are not watching this live will tune in after hours. And I appreciate everybody who does that. We will get back to a regular schedule once this book tour comes to an end. Have you ever done any traveling like this before? Yeah.
No, not at all. But next week we're back on regular 5 o'clock.
Yes, next week back on. Actually, we have a guest next week too, don't we?
We do. We have Fidelity in Las Vegas, who actually they went to Pace's book signing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wonderful. Julie and Jennifer are going to be on next week. So if you guys have questions about what's going on in the Vegas market and there's any title nuances to be aware of in that specific space, we're going to have them on the hot seat.
Love it. So Dina, I wanted to bring up some current events in the real estate market with you that I've been noticing.
Let's do it.
I went and got quarterly data from the VP of Data and Analytics at Bigger Pockets, so that you can trust this data source. Dave Meyer, by the way, is an incredible resource of information. And he recently shared that the housing market in the United States is a complete crapshoot. There are markets that are appreciating like crazy. There are markets that are getting kicked in the teeth, and you have no idea where you are or where you stand unless you get this data. You have to check the data. Now, why would it be important to understand the data? Well, first and foremost, if you're in a depreciating market, so if the price of your homes are going down month after month, there's a good chance that you can really negotiate hard with your sellers. You can get some phenomenal discounts, some incredible deals, right? Because there's everybody zigging, you can zag. But if you're in a market that's really appreciating fast, right, like there are a bunch, then you have to be more aggressive in your pricing. And your buyers are probably willing to pay more than what they would have been paying a couple of months ago. Or, you know, even some have increased beyond the peak of the market. Can you believe that? It's insane. Now, guys, I'm not going to give you all of the data. I'm going to give you guys a few cities that have appreciated dramatically and a few cities that have depreciated dramatically. If you want an exhaustive list, so if you want to find out if the market that you're in has appreciated or depreciated, there's only one way to get it. Okay? Nope. It's going to be free.
Money.
It's going to be free. But you have to email Dina Jones and you have to talk to her about doing business with a Fidelity title in your area. That's the rub. If you want to get the list, we're going to give it for free. You're going to give it away for free, but they got to do business with Fidelity. They got to work with you guys. I mean, this is what this podcast is about. It's about letting investors understand that, you know, Fidelity holds the bag. All right. But I'm going to give you guys, and in fact, I purposely picked cities that I know a lot of people aren't going to be doing business in, because I know that people are like, oh, but tell me about Phoenix, or tell me about Denver, or tell me about Las Vegas, or tell me about LA. But no, you got to email Dina if you want that information. But I'm going to give you guys some fun ones, right? So Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia. Do you think it appreciated or depreciated?
Appreciated.
It sure as hell did appreciate, to the tune of 27.8% month over month. Are you out of your mind? They are making bacon in Macon.
Georgia peaches and bacon.
What is happening in Macon?
Know.
They got the bacon in Macon. Oh my gosh. Well, here's another one. Okay.
I wonder if it's located near where all the tech companies are booming in Georgia.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
What's your email again, Dina? Everyone's asking, what's your email? Oh, now everyone wants to email. Now y'all want to email Dina, huh? Okay.
Titletalk@fnf.com.
Title Talk at FNF. I'm going to put it in the chat. Title. Yvette's going to put it in the chat. Title Talk at FNF.com. Thank you, Yvette. You are wonderful. Yvette has been such an incredible resource to our whole team, especially with us having to travel across the country. She's gotten Bobby and I to every location. Every hotel has known we were coming. It is just, you guys, if you don't have an Yvette in your life, you're not making enough money. I'm just saying, you need to be able to hire somebody that helps you and gets everything, like, just keeps your life together. So on to the next city. Okay. Breckenridge, Colorado. Are you familiar with Breckenridge? Have you ever skied there before?
Heck yeah.
What do you
I'm
think
not a
about
skier. Beautiful.
What did you do in Breckenridge?
Shopped, goofed off.
Shopped and goofed off. Okay. So it's a pretty popping spot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did Breckenridge appreciate, depreciate, or depreciate?
I'm going to say depreciate.
It did depreciate to the tune of 14%. My gosh. What happened in Breckenridge?
I don't know, but I'm 2 for 2.
You're 2 for 2. You're doing really well. All right. Well, here is one that you may get stumped on. Carbondale, Illinois.
Carbondale, Illinois, depreciated. I am familiar with that.
Appreciated at 10.6%.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a cousin from there.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy? Well, here's the next one. Akron, Ohio.
I'm going to go with depreciated.
Depreciated by 10.7%. What is happening? I have no idea what's going on in the market right now. Things are crazy. Crazy.
Guess what the median home price of is in Macon, Georgia?
300,000.
108,400.
Wow. You can make bacon in Macon, and you can make it for very little bacon.
Mm-hmm.
Because bacon is a synonym for money, right? Like if you're bringing home the bacon, you're bringing home the money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here, I'll put it in the chat. Sorry, guys. Title Talk.
So what's interesting, nationwide median home sales price is $291,700, but in Macon, you can buy a home for like a third of that. They're also known for low transportation, health, and grocery costs.
Wow. All right, guys. Title Talk at FNF.com if you want to know if your city appreciated or this is such important information to know if you're writing offers. You're talking to sellers. If you do you know if your market appreciated or depreciated in the last month? God, up-to-date data. This is going to make you so dang on the money. Imagine this. What if you're one of those people who thinks your market appreciated and it depreciated? So you're offering way too much. Or what if you're one of those people who thinks the market is depreciated in your market, but it appreciated significantly? So you're writing too low offers and you're missing out on deals. That could be so problematic. So you need to know what's happening in your neck of the woods. And the only way that you're going to get that information is by emailing titletalk@fnf.com. And you're going to have to talk to Dina about doing business with a Fidelity company in your neck of the woods.
I'm going to have to find somebody in Macon, I have a feeling, so that they can all bring home the bacon.
I agree. You got to help people bring the bacon home in Macon. So another one, Twin Falls, Idaho.
Idaho up.
Yeah, 9.9%. Crazy. Okay, here's one. Ocean City, New Jersey.
Jersey?
Excuse me.
I'm going to say Jersey down.
New Jersey.
I'm going to say down.
Down 12.58%. Yes, month over month, down 12.5%. Guys, I'm not going to give you Charlotte. I'm not going to give you LA. I'm not going to give you Phoenix. Sorry. If you want major market information, you're going to have to email Dina, titletalk@fnf.com. That's just how it is. Sorry. We need some participation from you guys. And, this show gets hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of views after we air. So for all of you not watching this live, the same thing applies to you. If you want to get this information, you're going to have to email titletalk@fnf.com to find out if your local market appreciated or depreciated, and how will you pivot knowing that information. Pretty neat, huh?
Well, it changes your conversation too. And I think, you can make money in either market. If it's an appreciating market or a depreciating market, there's money to be made. It just changes your approach.
I agree. It should have, the Wake Up TV says, that's messed up, bro. Why? Because you got to work for it? Come on, man. There's nothing messed up about you having to do a little bit of work and having to make I'm forcing you to make a relationship with a title company, the Wake Up TV. Why is that a problem? They will help you do business. All of the things that I've talked about in previous episodes about how you can leverage your title company for relationships, with wholesalers, with buyers, with rockstar agents. And he said, come on, man. No, come on, man. You got to do some work. You got to do some work.
You got to do some business.
You got to do some business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come on.
Absolutely.
You don't want to do this in a wonky tonk way. You got to be on it. You got to be on it. And he said, JK, he loves you and me very much. And we love you too. We absolutely love you.
The Wake Up TV. I like your handle. We're going to have to check it out. He's probably got a show.
Maybe the Wake Up TV. What kind of show do you have? What kind of show do you have with the Wake Up TV? Yes, I am the man. Jam is the man. I bet you right now Yvette's watching this saying, don't call him Jam. He hates that. I cannot confirm or deny whether or not I hate that. I don't know. Cool. Well, Dina,
I love the data. I love the data. I mean, data is everything. And we do have access to a lot of other data here in Arizona that's, market specific. So if you guys are reaching out to me and you want Arizona specific data in addition to the nationwide stuff, let me know in your email to titletalk@fnf.com. And then we also have, depending on the market that you're going to, they've got access to data. I know Vegas will probably speak to that next week when they're on. Florida, with the market that Jamil's currently sitting in right now, they've got access to a lot of data, and every market's going to vary a little bit on that, but we're happy to connect you with your local Fidelity office that can help get you local market data in addition to the national stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Al-Rawi asked, hey guys, I'm working at a title company and was wondering if there's a conflict of interest if I wholesale while working there.
Depends on your contract with your employer. So, I mean, my personal stance on it, it's like we're a neutral third party. So when I started working at Fidelity, I had to kind of hang up my real estate license because the Department of Real Estate, who governs the licenses, would not be able to look at me as being a neutral third party if I had an active license where I was making money in real estate. But on the wholesale side, I think it is definitely a little bit, it's different. I think there's people that buy second homes, that buy Airbnbs, that buy investment properties all the time. But I would check with your particular operation and see what their stance is on that.
Yeah, I would say to avoid all, like what I would do if I was you, if I worked at a title company, I would not use my title company to wholesale properties at. I'd want to go to a third party title company, one where I didn't work at, one where I could say, look, I had no hands on this file. I was not involved in it at all. Somebody totally third party dealt with it and go about it that way. I think that would be the most clean way to do that transaction if you're allowed to. I mean, I'm not even sure if your employer will allow you to do it, but if they do allow you to do it, I would not house your deal at your place of employment, I would take that. That's like, you ever
I
heard the
would think
term
that's a
pooping
strict
where you eat?
conflict. Yes, I think that would be a straight up conflict for sure. I think
I
that,
think so too.
especially because you could technically see all of the other pieces to the puzzle if there was multiple assignments in the transaction, and that would definitely not probably be looked at favorably. But we also don't want to get you fired, so talk to whoever your boss is first before you go down that route.
Completely, yeah. Don't go like, be like, but yeah, but Dina and Jamil said it's fine for me to wholesale as long as I don't do it at my own title company. So I took it to Fidelity National Title, and now you're giving me a pink slip. Don't be that. Don't be that person. Talk to your boss, and maybe, just maybe, you're better off wholesaling, or maybe you're just better off working at the title company. You got to decide. I know some title people that have made some pretty good money. Can I ask you a question? And you don't have to answer, but I'm not going to ask you specific names, but an escrow officer at a title company, right? That does a lot of files. What could that person take home in a month? Take home.
Oh gosh, I don't see their money, so I honestly have no idea. We have a pretty strict policy internally that we don't see other people's money. So
you never
will tell you,
accidentally heard that so and so made $40,000 this month? Never, ever?
No. Nope.
Wow.
And that's surprising. I know people talk about money like, oh, what'd you make this month? No, we don't. It's just never. It's a big no. Like, it's a fireable offense. One of those things. I have no idea. I mean, I know that people have retired in the company and had a great living for their retirement, and that is a combination of 401k plan, stock purchase plan. I mean, Bill Foley wanted to set all of our benefits up very, very well for all of our employees. And
do you know anything about like what an average starting pay is for? So let's not talk about the most, but do you know what an average starting escrow officer makes?
They don't start out as escrow officers. Anybody, they're going to be starting out as like an assistant, and the pay is going to totally have a range to it. So, I've never been the one hiring the escrow officer, so I don't know what what human resources puts on their paycheck.
I mean,
But I bet Indeed, I think you could probably, if you go to Indeed.com and figure out like starting pay, like for like escrow assistants, because that's what you would start out at. What's going on with our screen, my friend?
I'm sharing something. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Are you gonna? That's the book.
That was the book. Okay. The average salary for an escrow officer in Florida is $54,500, but they can vary between $28,000 to $105,500, depending on skills, experience, employer bonuses, and more. Cool. So you can make,
now we know,
over 100K as an escrow officer if you do a good job. Pretty cool. All right. Well, moving on. What else is happening in the world of title, Dina?
Well, I was thinking maybe it might be fun, since we've had a lot of people reaching out to me after we're not live anymore, going through maybe some questions that they should be asking title companies when they're trying to figure out if it's the right relationship. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great one. Do you have any questions that you think people should start with? And guys, put your questions in the chat. If you would, put your questions in the chat if you have any questions on how to vet a title company or what things to say. My first question would be, are you investor friendly? Do you work with assignments? Are you versed in creative finance? That would be my first question to a title company. And if they do not have investor friendly title officers, or if they're not familiar with the world of creative finance, I probably would say thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Maybe ask if they could refer you to one that does, or just email titletalk@fnf.com and let Dina help you.
Yes, because every one of my introductions is exactly that. This particular person is looking for an investor-friendly title company in this market, and Can you please help them? As I know you guys crush it with investor transactions. So I think that's an excellent, excellent first question. I think it would be a good idea to ask what type of title insurance policies are offered for investors. I think understanding the title insurance piece is probably a really good idea because title insurance protects against potential, ownership disputes or defects if you are an investor who's the end buyer, right? I think that's important. I think asking for testimonials is also like a great question to ask anybody that you're doing business with, not just title, right? It's like, you should be able to have somebody that can vouch for you to say, I've done business with this person and they do a really good job. Here's the 3 things I really like about doing business with them. That's
Love that.
To me on any partnership, any referral. Like I love working with people that have already, worked with them in the past. Those are the funnest relationships.
Agreed. Felix asked, hey, I'm looking to get an escrow assistant. Any tips for landing that job or maybe that person?
What market are you in, Felix? Let us know. Because if you want to send me your resume, I'm happy to connect you. And if we've got a office over there.
Cool. So
I would love to be a matchmaker.
Oh my gosh.
Gina
wants to help you find your forever home. Wow, what a cool thing.
Yes.
Also, Arawi asked, or is talking about needing to talk to an attorney before starting anything. Did you know that you can actually work with your title company's in-house legal for legal advice and help? Dina, did you know that? I've done it before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think he's asking because he works at the title company. So before
right. I understand. Before he uses that for wholesale. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's never a bad idea. But I'm a real honest person. I think you go to your boss first and ask them what their thoughts are around it, because you'll get a gauge for sure on if it's something that's like kosher or not.
Great. Amazing Wood Crafts asked, will a title company assist someone with a property that's in Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
Again, I think it's going to depend on the market. Assist someone, like they need to figure out how to do a Chapter 13, or the property's in the Chapter 13?
They're in Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but they want to sell. And so I imagine that there's going to be some court orders on assets and where the money needs to go once an asset is sold. And so the title company would have to understand the nuance and how to work with the whatever, the bankruptcy order or the trustee or the court in that matter, to make sure that all of the appropriate funds were going to the appropriate parties to mitigate or to help pay back some of the creditors in the Chapter 13 bankruptcy. That would be my opinion. What do you think of that?
I think you're 100% on the right line. I mean, if the seller can deliver equitable title through the Chapter 13, I don't know why they wouldn't, right?
Right.
I mean, like we do probate, I just think the seller's got to be able to deliver equitable title after the 13 or during the process.
Here's a question from Sarah Jacqueline Soares Pereira. What a great name. What do I need to know if I get a home under contract, but it's in probate? Can a title company help me get information about it?
What kind of information are you looking for? Information about the probate?
Possibly information about the probate, maybe information about the heirs. Maybe if she's potentially wanting to get a hold of whoever the person is, say she's got the lead, but now she's wanting to talk to an heir to see if she can get the property under contract. I don't know. Does a title company help with that type of work, or not until you actually have the deal under contract?
I think it's going to depend. It's going to vary on the situation. But like when you're talking about data, there's things we can do to look things up, to provide like information and things like that. But ultimately, we have to coordinate with the attorneys on all of that stuff. And you can't really have a contract on a probate until everybody else is like in agreement, right?
Correct.
So I would say if you're in that situation and that you do have a solution for whoever that person is, then I would definitely contact the title company and ask them what you should do given all the specifics on that particular property.
Awesome. Great questions here, guys.
Mhm.
Enrique asked, what are the pros and cons of a leasehold estate?
That is definitely something I'm going to let you jump into.
Well, I've never dealt with a leasehold estate.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I imagine it might be a land lease, and so yeah, Enrique, not my wheelhouse. And unfortunately, maybe we can ask this question to a title officer that comes in next week, but definitely not my wheelhouse at all. Here is a question. Will Fidelity Title work with FHA and VA loans in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I believe they will. Absolutely.
Is there a Fidelity in Florida?
Yes, of course.
Carlos asked a question about fees. Do you have an idea of what a per transaction fee could be in a place like Chicago?
I can't because it's an attorney state, but I can definitely connect you with somebody in Chicago who can give you a breakdown of that. I can speak, here in Arizona, we do offer a filed rate that is for investors specifically, so they get a discount on both the owner's policy and the escrow fee.
Abraham G. What's up, Abraham? He's an Astro student, and I think I know the answer to this, but Dean, I'll get your expertise. If somebody is working in multiple markets, do they need a relationship with a title company in each market? Will an Arizona title company close a deal in California, let's just say?
So that one depends too. So it depends on where you're doing business with. No, an Arizona title company is not necessarily going to close your California transaction. However, there are some states that go through what's like a national servicing center that do help on a lot of the attorney states. So it might be that I'm introducing you to them depending on where you're doing business. But you don't necessarily need relationships in every market. It just kind of depends on which markets you're working.
Awesome. And if people want contacts for specific title officers or offices, where do they go?
They just email titletalk@fnf.com and I will connect you directly.
Yes, guys, I've said it a couple times. Email Dina, titletalk@fnf.com, and she's happy to make connections, guys. And also, she'll deliver a very valuable list to you, a list of where your market.
Making.
Yeah. Did your market
making bacon?
Yeah. Are you making bacon in Macon or not? Are you faking? Are you faking making bacon? Not sure. Well, let's get back to our normal format.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's do it.
What are some of the things that are turnoffs in your world of title?
Okay, so let's talk about today. Ghosting when it's time to close. Bad idea. So Friday, prime example, this happened twice. MIA, nobody's communicating and everybody's trying to do their job to get the deal closed, but they can't get a hold of somebody in the transaction that's required to sign that day. That would be one. Another one.
That held up the whole deal. Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If I assign my deal, am I required to sign at a closing?
If you assign your deal.
Yeah.
Who's the contact for Fidelity Las Vegas? Yeah, you're still going to have to sign.
Do I need to sign at closing for that?
You personally?
Yeah.
Well, whoever on the contract has to sign
Okay.
some stuff. Yeah.
Got it. So be available. Be available.
I got it. Be available. I got another turn off.
Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
telling the seller to call title to schedule the signing before they have an end buyer in place. So the seller doesn't know there is no end buyer yet because you're working through the disposition side, right? And the seller is blowing up title to schedule their signing, and they're asking when the buyer is signing. That puts us in a real precarious position.
So it would be way better to just get your deal under contract and then tell your seller, call the title company and schedule your signing.
The title company will call you to schedule your signing when everything's done.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm confused. What was your turn off?
So when the seller is calling the title company and saying, I want to schedule to sign, and there's no end buyer. And then they're calling and saying, when is the buyer signing? And
Got it.
there's
So
no
what
end
could
buyer.
somebody do in that spot? Because they've probably passed their inspection if they're ready to close and there's no buyer. Does that mean that they've done something contractually terrible by ghosting on a deal or maybe walking away from a deal that they've committed to or move past inspection? I never suggest to people to move past inspection if they still plan to wholesale the property. I feel that if you move past inspection, yes, you can still wholesale the property, but you better damn be closing that house. Don't be stringing a seller
100%.
along and moving past inspection and not closing. Gosh, guys, can you imagine if that's you? Can you imagine you sell your house to somebody? The inspection period comes and goes, and they tell you everything's fine. Meanwhile, they're out shopping the offer and have no intentions of closing if they don't wholesale the deal. I mean, what if that was you? What if you packed up your whole life into a U-Haul and you're just waiting for your closing funds, only to find out buyer is not closing, your house is not sold, you got to move all your stuff back in? How terrible would that be?
And it happens. So that's totally a turnoff. And so I think it comes with expectation. Like, what's advice that you could give somebody that maybe doesn't have an end buyer? Because this happens all the time, right? Like, you enter into an agreement with a seller, you know you're going to be able to dispo the property, but you just haven't figured out who you're going to dispo it to yet, right? So just explain to the seller, call title to verify that I'm legit. Call title to let them know you're really selling your property and you are who you say you are. But just know when it's time for you to sign, they will call and schedule with you. Simple.
Love that. Love that.
How about you? Any turnoffs?
From the title side, for me, when an escrow officer gets their files all crossed and start calling the wrong parties with the wrong information and the wrong files, and they just blow a deal up by getting things mixed up. That is the worst thing that I feel a title company or title officer can do, is just not have an assistant or not organize themselves in a way that they are accountable to the things that they're telling people. I think that there's a lot of money on the line on some of these deals.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've got a title officer who just messes up and starts sharing information, like, let me ask you this, Dina, is it protected information? Is the buyer's information protected under the Privacy Act against an escrow officer disclosing information that they haven't been given the right to disclose?
Depends on the contract, right? But most of the time, those assignment contracts, they stop and end there, and they're not supposed to be communicating any additional information with other parties, right? I think that's a huge turnoff. It's right up there to me with with the story I shared on our last title talk, how the escrow officer at another company, I might say, called the seller and told them that they were undervaluing their property and they should have been able to get more money for it.
Wow. Well, that title officer just screwed everybody in the deal.
Absolutely.
Would that title officer be liable for the money lost?
I don't know because it wasn't at our company, but I would just think that they overstepped their boundaries on every front because they don't know. They don't know what the seller situation was. They don't know the buyer situation. The buyer might have overpaid, right? The seller might have needed to move for whatever reason, and they knew the risk involved. But in this
Right.
particular case, it took a totally different route, and the investor who could not direct that particular transaction ended up losing a bunch of money.
Here's a great question from Heidi. What is
Hi,
the process
Heidi.
you use? Hi, Heidi. What is the process for utilizing a title company to bring a cash buyer to our wholesale deal? So how does Heidi get Fidelity to introduce her to cash buyers?
So what is Heidi? Is she local?
I believe she's
where is
local.
she? Yeah. So I would definitely say reach out, ask me offline to include you in different networking events where you would be in the right room with the people that you're looking to meet.
So you guys charge $20,000 for those, right?
Not anymore. No, we don't.
What do you charge to do that for somebody?
We charge in escrows. That's my
So
favorite.
nothing. You just want business.
0. Yeah. We want everybody to be able to be in the right rooms with the right people doing more business together because they were able to connect.
Love it. What do you say when a seller ghosts and stops responding to a buyer and days have passed since close of escrow? How do you manage that circumstance?
Depends on the contract, but it depends on if they've been able to deliver title. That's a very tough one. Typically, I mean, sellers are going to tell you like, I don't want to sell my property now, and here's the reason why. But you actually put a video out on this today. Do you need a mutual cancellation on both sides? No, if the seller fails to perform, I mean, the deal's done.
Right. In Florida, there's a mutual cancellation clause in the standard boilerplate realtor contract. So essentially, a buyer, if they decide to cancel during the inspection period, a seller has to accept the cancellation. If they
For
don't,
any reason?
for any reason, if they don't accept the cancellation, the earnest money stays in limbo. What happens when earnest money goes to limbo? Do you guys put it on trial? Do you waterboard it? What happens to money stuck in title purgatory?
It stays there and nobody touches it.
For how long?
Depends on what the next steps are. Obviously, if nobody's coming to agreement, then that goes to legal for them to discuss any potential earnest money disputes, and then they'll make a determination. If the parties still are not in agreement, then next step would be mediation. And until that all plays out, it just stays in limbo land.
Mm-hmm. And yes, guys, Miami is the capital of fraud. Hello. I may or may not be Jamil Damji because I'm coming to you from Miami.
But it says on Facebook you're verified.
Oh. Okay.
That's a whole other thing now, isn't it?
Right. Now everybody's verified. The crackhead I used to know growing up is verified on Instagram.
Is he still your friend?
No, I just knew him growing up. He's a crackhead. He's got a blue check.
Well, he is who he is.
Yep. Amazing Woodcrafts said, when we request from a title company for real estate investor-friendly realtors, what terminology can we use to get the ones that work with wholesalers without saying wholesaler?
Yeah, so that's a great question because I'll tell you, not every real estate agent wants to work with investors or wholesalers, right? So I think that's a phenomenal one. I think you can just straight up say, like, who do you know that is investor friendly and that you've done transactions with on wholesale deals, right? I think you could straight up just tell the truth, right? I'm looking to meet people who will work with people that have signed transactions.
Nadine asked, and I'll begin by responding, and then I'll go to you, Dina. Is it common for a title company to restrict a double close where the B2C price is marked up over a certain percentage, for example, 30%, more than the AB file? Why is that?
It's not common for title to restrict. I mean, it's going to be, we're going to follow the contract, right? So if there's been disclosure and everybody knows what's going on all of the things, I don't think it's our place to decide any of that.
Right.
It's up to all the parties that are involved. We're just following the letter of the contracts that are on our escrow officer's desk.
Got it. So I've actually been hit with this situation where I was double closing a house and I was wholesaling it for more than, it was X percentage higher than what it was because it had appreciated crazily. And I had the same thing happen to me as happened to Nadine. They refused to do the file because the difference in price was too great.
So the difference in price that typically leads to somebody saying, I prefer to do a double close, has something to do with disclosure. And like, I'd say right now, I mean, 50,000, we definitely are having people want to do double escrows, 50,000 or more.
Guys, do us a favor and hit the like button on
and the love
and the love button
on
Facebook. Let us know
Share
that you're
with a
getting
friend.
value from this because, Dina and I have lots of things to do. I'm staring out the window right now in Miami and watching people water ski on this beautiful turquoise water. But instead of doing that, I'm here hanging out with my homies and Dina's homies talking title. So
Title is sexy.
The least you could do is hit the like button, smash it, pound it.
Smash it, share it, love it. Tell us you want more of it.
Here's a question from Justin Walls. An agent ghosted him yesterday. He had hard money ready to go and a contractor lined up. It was embarrassing. Okay, so is there any recourse when an agent ghosts you and tells you that they've got you a house and all of a sudden they don't have a house? How does that fit in the world? And what's your thoughts on that?
Call his broker. That's not how people should be doing business, Justin.
I love it. I would agree. Call the broker. And who is the broker in an agent relationship so people understand, Dina?
Sure. So you're going to have a designated broker that is going to be over the licensees within a brokerage, right? So they're the one that actually has to go to court if a licensee does anything bad. They're the ones that are on the hook if there's an earnest money dispute, if there's an ethics issue, if there's a buyer or seller in a transaction that are unhappy with how the agent is operating within the transaction. They are the first. Well, they're the ones that are technically on the hook for all the legal things. So they go to more school. They typically have a lot of experience, and they deal with escalated issues like that day in and day out.
Amazing. Do title companies charge per document or is it flat fees on deals?
It's based on the loan amount, purchase price, type of insurance. So no, it's not. I don't know what you mean on the per document thing, but we don't charge a per page in the contract fee.
I think she just wants you to look over the last page where she's signing.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey, I want to know because what's the last thing you Googled?
Before we go?
Yeah.
Oh. I Googled a moth called Antheria polyphemus. Antheria polyphemus. Antheria polyphemus, the polyphemus moth, is a North American member of the family Saturnidae. The giant silk moth is tan colored and has
Why
an
did you
average
Google this
wingspan
moth?
of 15 centimeters. It looks like a flying spider.
Did you have one in your house or something?
No, I just saw a spider with wings on the internet, and then I went down a rabbit hole and found out that it was an Antheria polyphemus. It's a type of moth.
Oh, well, mine's kind of boring because you guys all got to watch it, but it was Macon, Georgia. When you're talking about Macon bacon, I wanted to know why people are moving and living in Macon.
Amazing. Guys, that was a fast hour. I can't believe we
It
sped through
was.
that. You know, holy moly, it was so fun hanging out with you, and our audience grew through the entire show. So thank you guys for tuning in and staying tuned in to this episode of Title Talk. I got a lot of positive comments in there saying that there was so many gold nuggets dropped today. There was just an incredible amount of information. People loved it and they appreciated it. So Dina Jones, from all of us, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. And guys, we will see you all again next Thursday at the regular time, 5 p.m. Arizona time.
And we'll be together, so it'll be even more fun.
Yeah.
And
Take
our
care.
friends
See you
from
guys
Vegas
next
are
week.
going to join us. Bye, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.